welcome to this week's edition of Whether or Not. We have some exciting news stories for you guys this week, starting off with how golf balls could potentially be ruining the ocean, and then with climate change on the rise, not only will we be seeing warmer summers, but also wetter summers as well. And then Kristy later has a feature on Meteotsunamis, so get ready folks, Whether or Not starts right now. Hi, welcome again to this week's episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Bree Guy.
And I'm your forecaster, Andy Moffitt.
So Andy, it looks like we're going to be seeing a much better weekend than we did last.
Yes, we're dealing with the end of a weather system right now, but that's moving out of the area, and we should have a great weekend here in State College. And in my extended forecast, I'll have details on when the next chance of some rain may be here.
Well, that's exciting, but first, as always, we have nature in the news.
The Department of Environmental Protection released Friday a resource for understanding what landowners can do to work in or adjacent to streams impacted by flooding. The full-color booklet, Guidelines for Maintaining Streams in Your Community, is an easy-to-use resource for understanding the DEP regulations that apply when working in Pennsylvania streams. Quote, with 86,000 miles of streams and rivers in Pennsylvania, DEP receives many inquiries about stream work from municipalities, landowners, businesses, and communities affected by flooding, or by those simply wishing to perform stream restoration to protect property and infrastructure and prevent future flood impacts, says DEP Secretary Patrick McDonnell. DEP regulates activities in watercourses to protect public health, safety, and the environment. Activities that change, expand, or diminish the course, current, or cross-section of a watercourse are regulated. The guide is a first step in determining what regulatory requirements may apply before beginning a project. It contains a helpful green, yellow, and red light list of potential stream activities to indicate whether permits are likely to be required. Stream work that is not properly designated and permitted can inadvertently cause conditions to worsen in the next flood event, also impacting downstream neighbors. The booklet is intended to help guide stream work to be done in an environmentally sensitive manner and in a way that reduces the likelihood of future problems.
Are golf balls ruining the ocean? Well, they certainly don't help, for they can potentially cause a major threat to marine life. About 1.2 billion golf balls are manufactured per year, and about 300 million disappear each year. With many of the 32,000 golf courses across the world being so near oceans, they are the apparent abyss many of these golf balls disappear to. Young scientist Alex Weber has found over 20,000 golf balls since 2016, when she started her project at first just a volunteer cleanup job that turned into something much bigger. She has ranked these 20,000 golf balls into 5 groups, with 1 being new and still shining, and 5 being worn away with the rubber starting to spaghetti out of the sides. She is partnering with ecologists to write a paper on how exactly golf balls are affecting marine life, for this topic of study has not been explored in much detail before. Many of the balls are so worn out that the plastic deteriorates and spreads into the ocean, which can cause harm to not only marine life, but to humans through seafood. Many golf balls have even been found in the stomachs of gray whales and birds. They are hoping that the paper will further action towards better regulation of golfing near large bodies of water.
Warm, wet summers are historically unusual and could bring unexpected disruptions to ecosystems and society, according to new research from the University of British Columbia. As climate change raises summer temperatures around the world, increases in precipitation could offset drought risk in some regions. However, a paper published in Nature Communications this month shows that wetter summers may bring other problems in a warmer climate. Terrestrial climates around the world tend to alternate between cool, wet summers in some years and warm, dry in other years, said UBC Forestry PhD candidate Colin Mahoney, lead author of the study. But climate change is driving many climates towards warmer and wetter conditions. We found that where temperature and precipitation are increasing together, climates are changing faster than the temperature trend alone would suggest. Warmer, wetter summers could produce unexpected impacts, such as disease outbreaks and crop failures, because they break the climatic norms that ecosystems and human communities are adapted to. For the study, Mahoney and co-author Alex Cannon from Environment and Climate Change Canada looked at historical observations going back to 1901 and global climate model projections to the year 2100. The next steps will be to look at specific effects of these compound climate extremes in individual regions of the world. Mosquito-borne human diseases such as Zika virus, dengue fever, and malaria are promoted by both heat and standing water and could be exacerbated by warm, wet extremes.
Pennsylvania is on its way to becoming beautiful again, for it will receive $55 million from the Abandoned Mine Land Trust Fund to clean up hazardous materials left behind from mining systems that were built before 1958. This comes as a relief, for there are many dangers that surround these areas, such as runoff into rivers, roads, and sewers that can lead to soil erosion. The developers are hoping to see grass cover these plots of land once again and not the red mud and dead plants that currently inhabit the area. Interestingly, however, residents worry about the disruption that the project will bring and potentially dangerous toxins in the air. Some are even concerned what it will look like after the redevelopment and if it's for the better. Phase 1 is set to take place this year, and by 2019, developers are hoping the area will be covered in bauxite and aluminum ore. We shall see what will become of the project and if long-lived residents will be happy with the outcome.
Thank you for sticking with us. I am your forecaster, Andy Moffitt, here with your Central Pennsylvania forecast. The main story these next several days is what we're dealing with on Friday. This low pressure system moving off the coast, that is going to give us these windy conditions, rainy conditions, and even some snow maybe here on Friday. That will all be quickly moving off, though, as we head into Saturday. We'll be dealing with a little bit of sun. New England still gets a little bit of mixed rain and snow, and then as that low moves even more off, we get under a big ridge of high pressure on Sunday, and the main story for Sunday happens to be the sun. As you can see here, sunny everywhere. Sunny in New York, sunny in Memphis, Tennessee, and Chicago. So the main weather story on Sunday happens to be the sun, like I said. But first, we do have to deal with Friday's weather. And so this will be 37 degrees for a high temperature, windy, rainy, and maybe even some snow. An umbrella is really not going to work. We could have winds gusting into the 40s on Friday, so you're going to need a rain jacket. And as we head into Friday night, it's going to get cold, 29 degrees, and the winds are going to stick around for at least a bit. So it will be really chilly, and the wind chill might drop down into the teens on Friday night, so do dress warm. But the good news is, as we progress into Saturday, that's when things start to get better. 42 degrees, some sun, much calmer weather, really no wind, dying down throughout the day on Saturday. And then Sunday, even a better day. Like I said, mostly sunny, a few clouds here and there, high temperature of 44 degrees, really going to be a great day. And now Kristy has a feature on meteotsunamis.
A lesser-known weather phenomenon is now being closely studied, meteotsunamis. It sounds similar to the tsunamis we're all familiar with, and in fact, they are related. They both can create large waves, can be deadly, and can cause lots of destruction. So what's the difference, and are meteotsunamis a threat to us? Well, researchers at the Ocean Sciences meeting in Portland, Oregon answered just that.
Seismic tsunamis are driven by an earthquake, say off in the ocean, that produces a wave. Meteotsunamis are similar on the wave side, but instead of being produced by an earthquake, they're produced by a weather system, a storm.
Specifically storms in the Great Lakes, Gulf of Mexico, or along the Atlantic coast in the United States. When a sharp increase in wind speed at the front of a storm and a large change in pressure occurs, a meteotsunami can form.
So that storm and that wave move at the same speed. The storm can then efficiently put all of its energy into that wave, and it grows that wave. It makes that meteotsunami wave become potentially destructive. And that wave can further amplify as it comes into shallow water, in shoals, or as it enters a harbor where there may be a special additional type of resonance that can occur. And this is when these become destructive.
Before the meteotsunami reaches the shore, the water suddenly retreats, and then rapid flooding inland, property damage, and dangerous rip currents suddenly occur. If people are in its path, they can easily become injured or killed. Around 100 meteotsunamis occur each year in the Great Lakes, but most only create a 1-foot wave and aren't very noticeable. To notice these waves, a wave height of at least 2 feet is needed. On average, damaging meteotsunamis only happen once per decade. Most of these systems are reported on Lake Erie and Lake Michigan because of their shallower depth, and they are most frequent in May and June when thunderstorms are more periodic. Typically, meteotsunamis travel with their parent storm, but once they reach shallower water, they can, in a way, develop a mind of their own.
Then these waves can refract or reflect off of coastlines. They can make edge waves that travel along shorelines as well. And what happens when this occurs is that wave can become decoupled or disassociated with that storm. So you no longer have that trigger of recognizing dangerous conditions when you look up into the sky. You may see calm conditions instead of seeing that thunderstorm, and all of a sudden this wave comes out of nowhere. And that's what happened in 1954.
In 1954, 4 hours after the tsunami had passed, a 10-foot wave struck Chicago. 7 people were killed and many others were swept off of the pier. However, the most damaging case in the United States happened on July 3, 1992 in Daytona Beach, Florida, when a 10-foot wave injured 75 people and damaged 100 vehicles, along with causing a lot of property damage. Meteotsunamis along the East Coast aren't as frequent as they are in the Great Lakes. Only about 20 meteotsunamis strike the East Coast each year, with around 2 of those being noticeable. Even though damaging waves aren't that frequent, they are a very serious threat when they strike, so researchers are closely monitoring them.
Now, my office in particular is in charge of running the tide gauges or water level gauges across the U.S. We have over 200 gauges operating, and these are able to observe the meteotsunami event.
However, the United States isn't the only place experiencing meteotsunamis. They are a worldwide phenomenon. Around the world, they are most commonly found in the Adriatic Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and Japan's Gulf and bays. In fact, the strongest meteotsunami on record swept through Croatia in June of 1978 with a 19.5-foot wave. This event sparked the need for meteotsunami forecasts and a warning system, beginning the research process. It's been found that in the past, many meteotsunamis have been misdiagnosed as tidal waves or seismic tsunamis. It is believed that 10% of tsunamis on record were actually meteotsunamis. So what's currently in the works to better research, predict, and prepare for these destructive waves?
So in order to predict the water level change, we need to have an accurate weather forecast model, an accurate ocean circulation and wave model. At the same time, we are also improving and building sensor network for better detection. So the water level gauges, the meteorological network on air pressure, wind speed, all the meteorological variable, all the hydrological variable, and water level information.
Until all of that is complete and meteotsunamis can be forecasted and warned, it is important to be aware of the dangers these powerful waves pose and always keep a cautious eye out, especially around the Great Lakes. For Weather or Not, I'm Kristy Steward.
And I'm back now with the extended forecast, but first, a recap of the weekend. Friday is the main weather story of the entire period, essentially. Rainy, windy, maybe even snowy, depending on exactly where you are. Dress appropriately. An umbrella, again, isn't going to work. You're going to need a raincoat. That umbrella is just going to get turned inside out with those winds. Friday night will be chilly, especially with that wind chill. The good news is Saturday and Sunday begin the good trend of weather, at least in the short term. Monday, another great day. Temperatures in the mid-40s on Monday. Probably not a cloud in the sky, if I dare say that. But as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday, a chance of a shower might move into the area. But look how seasonable we stay, temperature-wise, hovering right around average 41 to 42 degrees pretty much all week long. Really no major storms on the horizon.
Well, Andy, it doesn't look like any major weather systems are moving into the area this week.
Yeah, really not at all, actually. On Tuesday and Thursday, there's a chance of some showers, but the main thing is the temperatures will be relatively seasonable and nothing quite like the precipitation we dealt with during the month of February, especially rainfall-wise.
Yes, thank goodness. But speaking of rainfall, earlier in the show we asked you prior to this year what had been the rainiest February on record. Was it A, 1894, B, 1929, C, 1981, or D, 1995? If you said C, you are correct. While we typically think of February as cold and snowy, February 2018 has been anything but. Here in State College, we typically average 2¼ inches of rain every February, but we got that amount in just 4 days, from February 22nd to February 25th.
February 2018 saw 5.83 inches of rain, which eclipsed the record set in 1981 by just 0.08 of an inch. So it was really close, but we just managed to get that record. So it definitely was a rainy February, and I think that's what most people will think of when they think of the month. It's that pretty mild and rainy during the month of February.
Yes, I'm just excited that we'll have a little break from it in this next coming week.
Yep, definitely, especially this weekend. Looks to be a nice break from the rain.
All right, well, that is all we have for you today, folks. Again, I'm your host, Bree Guy.
And I've been your forecaster, Andy Moffitt.
Have a good weekend.